So today, President Donald Trump was actually questioned on what his nominee is going to be for the Supreme Court. Now, you already mentioned that his next pick will be on July 9th, so he will not immediately say who his nomination is going to be. But it's still pretty obvious that the Democrats are very worried because the Supreme Court is definitely a major institution in the federal government. Unlike Congress or the presidency, where you have term limits, you have a number of years within a term before you need to be reelected, you are appointed, you are nominated, then you are confirmed by the Senate to serve an entire lifetime, if you want, on the Supreme Court. This has a very important factor, because I think his name is Ted Kennedy. No, I think it's Joseph Kennedy. I don't recall. His last name is Kennedy, but he is retiring. He's he's obviously a very well-known, soft liberal, I would like to call him. And he's actually retiring. He wants to get away from all this, Supreme Court business. And that's about it. So that's why Donald Trump is actually making a list of who to replace Kennedy on the Supreme Court. Now, like I said before, this has major implications because of major decisions that the Supreme Court had to make during the when abortion was not exactly at its height. Like around Roe versus Wade, that was the decision that allowed abortion to become legal. Now with Joseph Kennedy officially heading into retirement as a result, this could inevitably change the very foundation of the Supreme Court, because now Donald Trump has the opportunity to put conservatives, or at least a few conservatives, onto the Supreme Court and basically change the whole course of future decisions when they go to the Supreme Court. That would include when Joseph Kennedy voted in favor of the guy who said he didn't want to bake cake for this gay couple due to religious beliefs, which is actually one of the times where Joseph Kennedy has actually been in opposition to his own liberal ideology. That's why I call him a soft liberal. He is a liberal, but he's not really hardcore like Gilbrand, I think her name is. And I think she's actually really old. I think she's actually older than Joseph Kennedy is, which is kind of surprising. She actually seems more like the type to actually retire or something. But she is definitely a known anti-Trump justice, so I wouldn't expect her to really anything to happen to her, at least for the moment, until she she passes away or anything like that. Which is one of I think 3 ways which you can get justice out of the Supreme Court. I think you can impeach them, although that has never happened before, so I cannot say for certain if that's the truth. But again, this has the potential of affecting the decisions of the Supreme Court in the future with different cases that might come up. Like the gerrymandering case, that although the Supreme Court decided to not look into, it could still eventually make their way into the courtroom itself. And that will inevitably have a big part in the future of politics. That's what's going to happen. In fact, this is actually This actually would be an extension to the presidency of Donald Trump, even after he's done with being president. As long as the judges appointed by Donald Trump are still in the Supreme Court, his ideology, his brand of politics still has that influence. Because, like I said before, this affects all kinds of court decisions and many legal practices in the United States. That's actually why the Democrats are so worried. And I have not, take that back. I have seen Democrats whine to a great extent about this, but still, it kind of surprised me every time whenever they, they basically go that sort of thing. But I'm getting away from the point. The Democrats are afraid because, like I said before, this is an extension of the legacy of the Trump presidency. They don't like that. They are already sick of the fact that Donald Trump managed to appoint Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Now that Joseph Kennedy is leaving, a well-known liberal, and like I said before, a soft liberal of that, but still a liberal, this could have the potential to maybe even overturn a few cases like Roe versus Wade. I'm not so certain if that may actually happen. Although I wouldn't complain too much about Roe versus Wade being overturned. In fact, I would actually support something like that. But again, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. I think what's going to happen is that Trump is going to get someone who is definitely conservative, but not someone that would push the buttons of the Democratic Party. But to be fair, I think either way maybe the Democrats would still try to impede Donald Trump over the course of trying to appoint a new justice to the Supreme Court. We're already in a very crazy time here. In fact, I think I recall that only 4 Democrats managed to support Neil Gorsuch in his confirmation as the next Justice of the Supreme Court after Anthony Scalise, when Justice Scalia passed away almost immediately, and it was at the time a pretty big shock. But now, with Joseph Kennedy, who is a big figurehead, especially as a justice and inside politics itself, this has definitely becomes something very worrisome, because now the conservatives have the upper hand. Not only do we control the Senate, not only do we control the House of Representatives, not only do we control the presidency, we could very well potentially control the Supreme Court. And again, this will have the basis of future decisions. And it could change everything. The Supreme Court is that powerful. Although, there are extents to what the Supreme Court can and cannot do. Like, it can review decisions based, like a horizontal and vertical judicial review when it comes to other branches and especially state level laws. But I'm not sure. But I don't think it has the ability to enforce them. So that's kind of a limit for the Supreme Court within itself. But nonetheless, this still is will have a major effect, and it's making the Democrats feel very terrified over the prospect of a conservative judge replacing Joseph Kennedy. And that is definitely worrisome. Trump has had two justices that he has a chance to change the Supreme Court in his favor. In the future, he could maybe have another one or two, probably. I'm not positive if that's going to happen or not. I mean, there is a potential that he's likely to win the 2020 presidential election. But let's just see how far that goes when it comes to retirements of the Supreme Court, the vacancies there, and how Trump plans to nominate new justices into the court. So for right now, Trump obviously has Trump and the conservatives and the Trump populists have the upper hand, and I expect them to use this seat as a bargaining chip. What they would use it for as a bargaining chip for, I am not for sure certain. But I do know that this is a very important. It's a very important event that will affect both the Democrats and the Republicans. My name is Noah Meehan on The Arc Truth. Please post your comments down below. I would love to see them whenever you guys want to post comments. And also subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it to your friends across the internet.